Hello, everybody. Welcome back to another video. Welcome back to another video. So for the past couple of weeks, I've been talking about a few things. The last thing we looked at was love and manipulation, love or manipulation. There's a lot that could come out of these topics, a lot of differences, a lot of issues, a lot of discussions. So today I am not wearing my mom's coffee break shirt. I'm okay. I think I need to slow down a little bit. I'm not wearing my mom's coffee break shirt. I'm wearing something else that I'm going to show you guys, and there's a reason for it. So this week, the week of October 9th to I think is the 14th or the 16th, is being recognized as pregnancy loss awareness, or ectopic pregnancies, basically pregnancy loss awareness week. So based on that, or topic or focus for this video that I'm probably going to be doing in two parts depending on how much information I'll be putting out there. The topic of this is ectopic pregnancy. Yeah. All right. So I was trying to get the badge. I was trying to get the badge, but it wouldn't have come in time for me to be able to put out this video during the pregnancy loss week. So I printed. This is the new way to brand something. You get a shirt and you print it on it. You print it out. So I'm gonna show you guys. So this is the ectopic pregnancy symbol sign thing, and down here is I added this bit. If you see the pink and blue flowers here, they're pink and blue forget-me-nots, and there's a reason for it. Everything here is symbolic. This here is the symbol for ectopic pregnancy, just like you have cancer, AIDS awareness. This is for pregnancy loss awareness, and this here is pretty important and symbolic. And you see some dates here. I'm going to touch base on those. So that's that. Ectopic pregnancy week. Let me fix my chair. All right. So this is an interesting topic. It's a pretty interesting topic. So firstly, what is ectopic pregnancy? As I mentioned, is pregnancy loss awareness, which means that you know that ectopic pregnancy is the loss of a pregnancy, right? But it's a little bit more than that. Scientifically speaking, ectopic pregnancy is when, or ectopic pregnancy occurs when a fertilized egg, or an egg is fertilized outside of the uterus or the womb. It's not supposed to be outside of the womb for it to be viable, right? Viable. I say viable. Viable, right? So when the egg is fertilized outside of the uterus, it will cause ectopic pregnancy. I have never heard of an ectopic pregnancy that was brought to term. Never. There are different types, and I'm gonna read from my notes just for the types, but there's one particular type that is more prominent than all the others. This one I know about, this type I know about, and because it's more common, but I'll let you know about the others that exist that people can actually experience, right? So we have tubal ectopic pregnancy. That is the one that occurs within the fallopian tube, where the egg is likely traveling down the tube to go into the uterus, and it gets fertilized while it's in the tube. So when it gets fertilized while it's in the tube, it latches onto the walls of the tube and it gets implanted, and it stays there because that's the normal process of things. The egg doesn't know the fetus that is being developed doesn't know that it's in the wrong area of the body, right? So that's the most prominent one. That one, tubal ectopic pregnancy. You have interstitial ectopic, sorry, interst interstitial pregnancy. That's another one. You have cesarean. I'm not going to go deeply into these, but I'm going to provide for you a link in the description that you can go to. I'm going to tell you about this group. This organization is amazing. I'm going to tell you about them. So I'll provide that information in the description below, but I'm going to just list them, but I'm going to focus on the one that's more common, and you're going to know why. So we have the tubal ectopic pregnancy, the one I just described about the fallopian tube and the egg being fertilized and it latches on or implants itself. Then we have the interstitial pregnancy, cesarean scar pregnancy, cervical pregnancy, rudimentary horn pregnancy, ovarian pregnancy, intramural pregnancy, abdominal pregnancy, and heterotopic. I need to work on my penmanship. I need to work on my penmanship. Heterotopic pregnancy. So these are the different types of existing ectopic pregnancies. But the ectopic pregnancy that is more prominent or more likely to happen is the tubal ectopic pregnancy, the one with the fallopian tube. Now, if you know anything about a tube, it's like this long thing. Like, let's think about a hose, right? That's a tube, a hose, right? Imagine you stuff or force a pebble into that tube or into that piece of hose, and that pebble is too big, so it doesn't slide down. It's stuck in it. And you keep forcing it through until it can't go any further because it's too big. What's going to happen to the tube? Burst. It's going to burst. I mean, it's going to stretch thin. It's going to stretch before it bursts, because that's what happens with elasticity. It's going to stretch and then it bursts, right? Now, this is what happens with tubal ectopic pregnancy. The egg that is fertilized implants itself within the fallopian tube, and it's gonna grow. So it grows and it grows because it's developing. The fetus is developing, right? And it grows and it grows, and before you know it, tube burst. And here's the thing about this one. The tube burst, you start to bleed inside. You start to have internal bleeding. You start to have pain. You don't know unless you may not know that you're pregnant to begin with. And if you knew you were pregnant and this started to happen, then you'll be able to catch on to it quickly. But the persons who didn't know that they're pregnant or they were pregnant, they'll think that it's just their menstrual cycle that may have started. Right? So, tubal ectopic pregnancy, most common one. Some of the symptoms to notice or to recognize are like dizziness, you're feeling really faint, you may even collapse, terrible abdominal pains. I read about this one, shoulder tip pain, but all right. Shoulder tip pain, yeah, that's one that I saw on the list. I'm like, shoulder tip pain. All right, so these are like some symptoms of ectopic pregnancy. Now, yes, we know it's Pregnancy Loss Awareness Week. Why am I talking about ectopic pregnancy? I'm familiar with it. Pretty familiar with it. I know about it. All right. I think I should say I am far more intimate than I would want to be with ectopic pregnancy. And here's why. My son was 7 months old. When I ended up in the hospital. I didn't know I was pregnant. Didn't know I was pregnant. Because had I known, I would know what to look for. Didn't know that I was pregnant. And I remember we were on a break. We're on a midterm break. It was an Easter break from work, from school. And I was home. And I was having pains. I was having pains. I was having some abdominal pain. But I thought that I was having cramps, but it was unusual. It was unusual. Um, it's strange, and I'm gonna tell you why. I was having abdominal pains, and I thought I was going through my menstrual cycle. No, at that time I wasn't. I just knew it was regular, right? So I wasn't really paying much attention to it. But I started paying attention to it when I was like, no, it should be done by now. But I started having the abdominal pains before. So I thought I was having cramps because I've had cramps once or twice in my entire life, right? So I thought that, okay, maybe I'm just having cramps. And, but with it, here was the difference. I was tired. I was excessively tired. I felt like if I pushed myself too much, I felt like I'm going to pass out. These were the things I was feeling or experiencing. I felt faintish when I do anything excessive. And when I say excessive, I mean walk for a period of time. Walk for a period of time. All this while, I was pregnant with a ruptured fallopian tube. I had no idea. A ruptured tube. I mean, I was bleeding internally and I had no idea. I was bleeding internally before it started to seem like it was my menses. I had no idea. So how did this all go down now? I was home. Another thing, I thought I was suffering from gas. I did everything. I drank so many freaking gas medicine and my tummy just felt like it was swollen. It was tender. I couldn't touch it, nothing at all. One day, I decided, okay, I'm going to go to the doctor. I was still at my parents because my son was like 7 months old at the time. I decided I'm going to go to the doctor. On my way out, so I went through the gate and I was walking out. And because I was like, I'm in too much pain, I'm going to go to the doctor. And I was walking out. And I felt like I was going to pass the hell out. I felt like I was going to just pass out. So I said, you know what? I'm not going to walk any further. So I turned back and I started to walk towards the house, back to the house. When I got through the gate, I couldn't pass the veranda. I was calling for my father. I was calling him. And he came out to the veranda with my son in his hand. And he stood right next to me where I was. I just sat down on the veranda. I opened the grill and I just sat there. I couldn't move, couldn't nothing. And I felt myself, like my eyes were closing and and I could hear my father in the background saying, Renee, wake up, wake up, wake up. And I was fighting to keep my eyes open. And for a split second, let me tell you this, for a split second, when my eyes closed, right before my dad started slapping me and like, wake up, wake up, wake up. My eyes closed. You know, when you close your eyes, even when you're in the dark, you will see red or you'll see something. My eyes closed and it was pure black. Like, I felt myself drifting. I felt it. I swear to God, I died that day and came back. I felt myself drifting. Like, I felt myself like really drifting off, like drifting. Like, and I felt me holding on, and I felt my body going cold. I could feel it. I could feel it. It's like I was there, but I wasn't there. And I felt my body going cold. And it was at that moment, it happened so quickly. It was at that moment that I felt my father slapping me like, wake up, wake up. And then he started calling my mother, and she came around to the front of the house. And then they called my uncle. They took me to the doctor. When I got to the doctor said, go and do an ultrasound. I did the ultrasound, and they said, you have fluid where there should be no fluid. You have fluid where there should be no fluid. Took the results back to the doctor. And he made me do a pregnancy test. And because first he asked me, are you pregnant? I was like, no, I'm not pregnant. And then he made me do a pregnancy test, and he said, what does that say? I said, that test is wrong. my response to the doctor was, that test is wrong. That can't right, because me not pregnant. That can't right. All right. And then when he looked back on the thing, and he called the nurse, and he said to the nurse, what does that say? And it says positive. She said positive. It's like, he said, you're bleeding internally, because you should not be bleeding. Fluid is in your stomach where it shouldn't be, and you're pregnant. Something is wrong. So he wrote up a letter, and he wrote on the letter urgent. He wrote urgent, like urgent on the letter. I was rushed to the hospital. When I got to the emergency area, I was placed on a gurney, and I was shipped off to the ward. In a few minutes, because as I say, I don't know what the hell he put in the letter, but everything was going by so quickly. In a few minutes, I got a nurse, and she came, and she was, because I was kind of simmering down, I was kind of stabilizing, because I wasn't moving or anything, so I didn't feel faintish or anything like that anymore, but I was shit weak. And she came, and she was talking to me, and she said that the doctor is on her way. The doctor came, and she asked, because my family members, they found out that, okay, Renee's gone to the hospital, something went wrong. So a few of them came, my aunts came, all right? And so the doctor asked them to excuse, and she was talking to me, and she was like, did you know you're pregnant? I was like, no, I didn't know I was pregnant. How could I okay, let me not say how could I possibly be pregnant. We know how, but I'm saying I didn't know I was pregnant. And she said to me, she was talking to me about what was happening, or what they presumed to have happened. And after the nurse did what she had to do with the urethra, and they did what they prepped me. Basically, I was prepped for surgery. I was shipped off to the operating room like the same day. Everything happened so quickly. I was shipped off to the operating room. I did the operation. After I was woken up, and they were doing rounds, I was still at the hospital. They were doing rounds, and my parents were still there. The doctors came to me, and they were talking to me, and she said to me, you had an ectopic pregnancy. Oh, I remember before, because she told me that I had an ectopic pregnancy before we went into the surgery, but I never registered in my head. Like, I don't know what that was. But she explained it after the surgery. So she was explaining to me before we went into surgery, and she said, how long? She asked me, how long have you been like bleeding? How long? And I said about a week thereabout, but I've been having abdominal pains for longer than a week. Probably 2 weeks or a week and a half I was having abdominal pains, or 2 weeks. But I had been bleeding for a week. And so after the surgery, she was there with her attending, and they were telling me that what happened, everything that took place in surgery was successful. And then she said, we took out 2 liters of blood out of your stomach. 2 liters of blood that shouldn't even be there, which means that you have been bleeding for a while. And she said, you should have been dead in a week. With all that blood that we pulled out of your stomach, you should have been dead in a week. When she said that, the only thing I thought about was my kid. It's like, shit, I can't deadlift my pitney. And I was terrified. I was terrified at that moment. So I went through the ectopic pregnancy. I didn't know I was pregnant. For years, I was told not to let anyone know that I was pregnant. I was told not to let anyone know that I was pregnant. And my interpretation of that was, you breed already, already get one pitney outside of marriage. Cause you know, let me tell you before in a couple of videos before, old church people say. So you breed and get pitney out of marriage already. You can't make nobody know so you breed again and you have a 7-month-old baby. But that was my situation, right? So I was specifically told not to let anybody. So my interpretation of that was I was supposed to feel ashamed of what I went through. I wasn't allowed to talk about it. I wasn't allowed to feel any way about it. I wasn't allowed to express myself because I'm not allowed to talk about it. I'm not allowed to say to anyone that, oh, I was pregnant and I lost a baby. I wasn't allowed to do that, right? So that shame was imposed on me to the point where I started to believe it, that something was wrong. I started to believe that I should be ashamed because I have a 7-month-old child and here I am getting knocked up again. I felt that kind of shame and I was like, but I'm not that person. I'm not the kind of person who these things happen to, right? So I took that experience, I took that information and I smushed it in a bottle and I buried it. A few years later, specifically 2018, 2018, I was in my apartment, I was sleeping, and I had a dream. In this dream, I had this beautiful little girl, right? But she was like a teenager now. She was a teenager in the dream. And I felt so connected to her. I knew she was mine. I knew she was my child. I felt so connected to her. I knew she was my child. I even got a name, which I refuse to say here, just in case. Right? But I knew she was mine. And in that dream, I loved her so much. I loved her. Like I really loved her. And I woke up and I started crying because I felt everything. And I'm like, shit, I lost a baby. I lost a baby and I was never allowed to feel any way about it. I was never allowed to talk about it because apparently one shameful pregnancy is enough for one family, I guess. And I went through that alone. No one, I wasn't allowed to talk about it. So I couldn't feel, I couldn't express, I wasn't allowed any of that. And for years, I kept thinking to myself, how am I supposed to feel about this? What am I supposed to feel? I lost a kid and it hurts. It hurts that I lost a kid. And I kept saying to myself, what am I supposed to feel? Like for years, I felt nothing. For years, I kept trying to figure out what I'm missing. How am I not feeling anything? And then I had that dream, and it was the most amazing feeling ever. And ever since that day, I can't stop thinking about her. I think she was a her. I can't stop thinking about her ever since that day, even today. She haunts me. And it feels like, and I feel guilty because for years I felt nothing. For years I never spoke about it. For years I never embraced the fact that I went through a loss and it was a freaking loss. I was led to believe that it was a shameful thing and I was not supposed to talk about it. I was not supposed to encourage even the thought about it. I was emotionally draining and drowning, not draining. I was emotionally drowning and I didn't even know it because I pushed it aside because I wasn't allowed to freaking talk about it. And I mean, who am I going to talk about it with? Who? As I said, one shameful pregnancy is enough, right? And I went through that alone. And it was hard. It was really hard. Because every time I think about her, I keep thinking my baby could be 5 years old today. I'd have 2 kids, 1, 6, 1, 5, big whoop. My baby will be 5 years old today. It should be amazing. And after I had that dream and I keep remembering her or thinking about her, I just love her and I miss her and I wish I had that kid. I wish I did so badly. Wish. So a lot of times women are going through things and we don't know. It's like they always say, you don't know what someone is going through, so always be kind to people. I went through this for years. A lot of persons don't even know that I had an ectopic pregnancy. They they didn't know. This wasn't something that was spoken of, it was something that was mentioned, right? And it hurts. It hurts. It really hurts. It really hurts. I wasn't angry. I didn't go through a period of feeling depressed because I lost a kid, because I didn't even know I was pregnant. And I remember when I started trying to find a community or something to connect with, people with the same experiences, to try and understand how it is that I am supposed to feel, because I'm like, something must be wrong with me. I had a loss and I don't feel anything. And then I started reading about other people's experiences, and they're saying, okay, some of us, the difference is that some persons, they knew they were pregnant, they were looking forward to this, and they lost it. That's terrible, right? But what about the persons who didn't even know they were pregnant and it happened? I was in that circle. I was in that batch. I didn't know I was pregnant and it happened, and it was terrifying. And I didn't know it was terrifying because I didn't allow myself to get terrified by it. I didn't allow myself to feel it. I didn't allow myself I didn't allow myself to experience what was happening with me then. And I love my kid. All I keep thinking about, Lily, is, oh my God. I could have had a 5-year-old kid today and know that, okay, that's it, I'm done. I lost my baby. And I loved my baby. I love my baby. And I lost her. I'm going to say it's a her because I wanted a her. I loved her. I still love her. And I honestly wish I had her today. I do wish I had her today. Do wish I had her. But the point I'm making here is I'm trying to shed some awareness on what women go through emotionally. Sometimes when they experience loss like pregnancy or a loss of a pregnancy, we're thrown into a whole different spectrum, right? We're thrown into a whole different spectrum. But I'm going to touch base on that in another video, which you guys are going to get in 2 parts. 2 parts. Don't worry, you're going to get it in 2 parts because I don't want to make this one too long and then you guys are like, oh my God, what's she talking about for half an hour? So I'm gonna split it and we'll come back. All right, we'll come back to this one. Don't worry, we are coming back.